Rick Santelli and Dylan Radigan. Dylan, let me talk about these numbers. $9.6 billion loss by General Motors in the fourth quarter, $30.8 billion in the year. Can it be saved?
I don't know whether GM can be saved, is the truth, but I do know that the American car industry can be saved. In other words, we have the skill set.
But can it be saved because we lose one or two of them and consolidate?
That is possible, yes. That is an absolute possibility.
All right. Rick, let me bring you back in, and let's get to something that's touched a nerve here in this country. Your comments on the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange last week following Barack Obama's comments on his housing rescue plan. You said it was a plan that rewarded bad behavior. The president seemed to speak directly to you and to a joint session of Congress on Tuesday night, saying it's a plan that will not help the neighbor down the street who bought a house he couldn't hope to afford. You still think it's a bad idea?
I think it's a bad idea insofar as I want the president's comment to be correct. But, Matt, at the end of the day, if the forensics been done by the government, in other words, there are going to be cases where people didn't game the system or they didn't put a zero or a very low teaser rate so they could game the appreciation on the house. And those special circumstances maybe need to be separated out. The forensic, as insiders call it. But before taxpayer dollars go into contracts that the information isn't right or there was work on both sides, whether the mortgage writer or the ultimate applicant, we need to know who did it right and who did it wrong before we throw tax dollars at contracts that really weren't legal to begin with.
Let me take this a step further. Robert Gibbs, the White House press secretary, called you out in the briefing room, and after you heard his comments, you said that he was threatening you. Are you serious about that?
Listen, let's put it this way. Matt, you're married, are you not?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, this is more about the feelings my wife had when she watched the body language and listened to what he was saying.
This is the White House press secretary. You think he's going to threaten you on national television?
Well, let's rephrase the question. Do we think it's normal to be named by name as opposed to the general media at large? Say the cable guy or some of the comments. I find, and my wife finds, and many of my friends find, that the direct confrontation and pointing me out by name just is not ordinary, and I'll leave it at that and let people make their own judgment.
Let me say one thing on Rick's behalf. Rick is channeling an emotion everybody in America is feeling, that people were able to cheat the system, whether it's on Wall Street, whether it was politicians, or whether it was homeowners. Rick has been aggressive in criticizing the treatment of the bankers, the behavior of the politicians. He's gotten a lot of attention and a lot of attention now for the homeowners, but that is not a unique issue. He hits a behavioral economics 101 issue, which is people will not engage a system that they do not believe is fair.
I completely understand you're supporting Rick, and Rick, I'm sure your wife is a lovely person. However, what Robert Gibbs said was basically, he was, and I'm paraphrasing here, he was saying he's not sure that as a former trader and current television personality, you're living in the same kind of neighborhoods where people are struggling to pay their mortgages. He wasn't threatening you.
Well, listen, I'm not saying threatening. It just to be pinpointed specifically, I find very unusual. And I think that it's more of a decision for you as the press or all the people on the lawn that giggled at the joke about caffeine, and it was funny. But how would they like to be pinpointed specifically? I think that's the issue at hand. I don't want to make more out of this. Here I am, and I want to continue to do what I've always done, and that is question motivation, whether it's the Fed chairman. And
but the only thing I would say,
the economy to cure down the road, but is it true?
But the only thing I would say, Rick, is if you go out of your way to call out the President of the United States, you have to expect that his representative may go out of his way to call you out. Doesn't that go with the territory?
Well, what we're really saying is calling out, as a member of the press, do I not get to ask a question or question the system?
And as the press secretary, doesn't he have the right to ask you a question?
He certainly does. It would be nice if he did it face to face, but I don't know that he needs to throw out my name. I just have an issue with that.
I think that the emotion here is a real emotion that everybody in this country feels, and we would be well served by this administration, Republicans and Democrats, making it clear that they are going to make sure that the cheaters on Wall Street and in the housing market and in Congress will be caught. I think that if you back up and look at the emotion, I think that's Rick's point, your point, and my point,
Clearly,
and a
it's
lot of
touched
other
a nerve.
people's.
We will all agree on that.
One thing, Matt, let's get this out. Matt, everybody that's talking right now, we want all of this to succeed. We just want to make sure that as we spend the money we don't have, we're getting our return and people have a chance to look at it and understand where it's going and what type of return we're getting for these trillions.
That's riddled with cheaters.
All right, guys. Thank you. Dylan, Rick, thank you very much. Let's get a check.